Pocket Watchers, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Adrian, and this is Always Talk Money. Before we get into the video, please leave a like. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because today's topic is the financial mistakes you should avoid in your 20s. And also, I'm going to do 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in the subsequent weeks. But today, we're just going to focus on all the folks in their 20s. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. And the first financial mistake that a lot of people in their 20s make is going to an expensive college. Yes, I know education is the gateway to a better life. I know a lot of people think college is a scam. I personally never went to college, but I do advocate for education. Education and college are not synonymous, right? You don't have to go to college to get education, but you should always strive to learn. I strive to learn every single day. And the big mistake is people want to be in the hype. There's a lot of FOMO about the colleges that people pick. Starting from 18, 19, you're senior in high school and everybody wants to compare what schools they're going to. Oh, I'm going to Harvard. Oh, I'm going to Yale. I'm going to Stanford. I'm going to Duke. You know what all these colleges have in common? They're very expensive. And if you don't have a full ride or some sort of subsidy to pay for your college tuition or board, or if you don't have rich parents that's going to take care of you, you might be making a big financial mistake taking all those student loans. I know everybody sees what's going on with student loans right now, and we don't know if they're going to be forgiven. And that should teach you a lesson. You cannot rely upon the government or anyone else to really give you a bailout, because one thing's for sure, two things for certain: politicians, not the most honest people. And I'm not trying to be political. This is on both sides. So if you're going to choose a college, try to be prudent with your decision. It could be one of the biggest financial mistakes you can make, because that could haunt you for years and decades to come in your future. And it can also stop you from pursuing other things that you want to pursue later in life. Go to a college that's reasonable. If you can stay home and try to avoid the cost of room and board, I think that's a smart idea. If you want to go to a community college, junior college, and then transfer to a bigger school after 2 years, I think that works as well. Let me tell you something. Out here in the workforce, a lot of people don't really care that much about which school you go to. In the real world, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to really care what college you went to, just as long as you can do the work and you're competent enough to do the work. Now, another potentially bad financial decision that people in their 20s tend to make is getting a brand new car. I get it. You want your independence. It's your first time out into the world. You're trying to make a statement, right? But a lot of times people try to make a statement by using cars. And that's not a good way to make a statement. How you make a statement going into adulthood is showing that you can manage your finances effectively. It's not showing that you can get a brand new Honda. Just on the depreciation alone, the minute you drive off, you're going to be losing thousands of dollars. On top of that, a lot of these car notes really rob you of your freedom, because when you buy a brand new car and you're young, what they do is they give you a bad loan. And that bad loan could stretch for 72 months up to even 96 months. I've seen people have 96-month car notes. Now, if you're paying something for 96 months and you're young and it's brand new, it's probably going to be a $500 a month payment, a $600 a month payment. And not only that, the interest rate is going to be super high, super dumb. You're going to have to pay insurance, and then eventually you're going to start having to pay maintenance. So starting out your 20s and having up to $1,000 wrapped up just in your car, in transportation, is not a good way to start, because in your 20s, you're going to be working minimum wage, or you're going to be starting at the bottom of the totem pole, whichever company you work for. And you don't want your finances to be bogged down by paying a car note. So avoid getting a brand new car like the plague. Get a used car, get a beater. Don't spend more than $5,000 on a car. People might tell you they're not reliable or whatever. Don't listen to those people. I personally I always buy used cars. I've never bought a brand new car in my life, and I've never had any issues. And yes, you might have to do a little bit more maintenance on a used car, but you know why you still save money? Because while you're paying $600 every single month just to have the reliability of a brand new car, in 3 months you would have paid $1,800 in car notes. In 3 months, do you think the average person pays up to $1,800 for repairs on a used car? Absolutely not. So avoid trying to get a brand new car in your 20s. Guys, if the video is giving you value so far, please leave a like for the YouTube algorithm. And the next thing a lot of people in their 20s tend to make mistakes on is living in a very expensive apartment, neighborhood, or condo. I get it, you want to prove yourself as an adult in the real world. Well, a car won't prove that for you, and neither will an expensive apartment. This is the time you should be buckling down and being as frugal as you can, because real expensive things are going to come later in life. An apartment is not one of the things you should focus most of your money on in your early 20s. You don't have to get all the amenities when you're young. When you're young is when you should be slumming it. And what that does is it actually will give you more motivation to do better. It actually will give you more motivation to change your circumstances. Getting the super expensive apartment, getting the high rise in the swanky neighborhood, a lot of times it's appealing, but it also is a very bad financial decision. You don't need to be paying 50, 60% of your monthly income on housing and then another 30% on cars. And then you wonder why you're broke in your 20s. You don't have to be dead broke in your 20s. Your 20s, yes, you're going to make the least money you're going to make over your lifespan, but you don't have to be dead broke. Avoid living in a very expensive apartment. I know a lot of young people, it's a lot of FOMO, it's a lot of comparison, it's social media, people are living this type of life, that type of life. But let me tell you something, by and large, those people are faking it. Because if you try to do the same thing, what you'll realize is, wow, all my money's been spent on bills. I have no life. I'm working all the time and I'm miserable. And those people are miserable too. And the only time they're happy is when they pretend to be happy and post on their Instagram stories or whatever else. So don't try to live in a very expensive apartment when you're just starting out in your 20s. I promise you, nobody cares. Absolutely nobody. Moving on. Another big mistake people in their 20s tend to make is to push off saving and investing. Because you have that youth, you know that you have time. You're like, oh, I'll start focusing on investing when I'm 30. Oh, I'll start focusing on saving when I'm 40. You should start focusing on day one. If there was one thing I could tell my 20-year-old self, I would prioritize saving and investing way, way, way earlier than I did. Because what the thing is, with saving and especially investing, time is on your side when you're younger because of compound interest. The longer you're invested in the market, the more time your money has to compound. You need to start focusing on saving and investing as soon as possible. You remember when you're paying all that car note? You remember when you're paying all that expensive rent? You know who's making money off of you? Those corporations and those businesses. Pay yourself first. How you pay yourself first is by saving as much money as you can and investing as much money as you can. You know how you do that? You don't have a $600 a month car note. You don't pay $2,000 for a studio in whichever swanky neighborhood just to prove to yourself and your friends that you're doing it. Saving and investing is paramount, especially when you become an adult, and that's in your 20s. I know it seems like you should be out here partying and all of that type of stuff, and that's fine, but you have to find a balance. And that balance is you save and you invest, and then you play a little bit after the fact. And I left this point for last because the opposite of saving and investing is what? Spending. And what a lot of people do in their 20s is they spend a lot of money, specifically on credit cards and consumer debt. Everybody's faking it. I promise you, you do not want to try to be like the Joneses. Don't try to keep up with them. Don't try to spend your last. Don't max out your credit cards. And if you do max it out, be sure to pay it off at the end of the month. I advocate for no debt whatsoever, but people are going to do what they want, right? I'm not unilateral on this stuff. I just say be responsible, everything in moderation. Do not get into consumer debt. People in their 20s tend to do a lot of that because they don't really truly know the value of money. When you're in your 20s, money tend to be kind of like a concept. You don't really understand how it works because you've never lived on your own. You've never had to pay all of your own bills. And so you have a fake reality. When your parents were taking care of you, that's a fake reality. In the real world, stuff gets really real. And one of those things is debt collectors coming after you for the money that you owe them because you thought you could spend and spend and spend and never have any repercussions. That's not the case. So please, if one mistake you want to avoid in your 20s, do not get in to debt. Now guys, that's the end of the video. I really appreciate y'all for watching. I hope y'all doing well. Be safe out there. Until the next video, I will see you, and peace.